everybody. Raul here for Bass Musician Magazine, and today we have the great honor and pleasure of chatting with bassist Brett Marquette. Yay!
Yo.
As always, Brett, we like to go back to the past. How did you get started in music and on bass?
I was really lucky that my parents found like a cool hippie Waldorf school out in the country in Sonoma County. And so I got put in there when I was a third grader, and one of the first days they handed me a recorder. I was like, what am I doing with this? And they made me play recorder. And then all of a sudden I was playing a violin, and then I was playing a cello like the next year. And then the year after that I picked up trumpet. And the year after that I started drumming. So I just got to go through all these instruments. And then by the time I was in high school, I wanted to be a drummer. And my teacher said, you're too loud. You'll drown out all the other students. Go buy a bass. And so I did, and I've been playing a bass ever since.
Got you. And are you self-taught? Are you taking classes?
I had classes, yeah. And the class I first started playing in was called American Folk Music. My first bass was like an acoustic Hofner bass, and I didn't get into electric probably till later in high school. And funnily enough, my dad actually played bass when he was in like 7th to 8th grade in high school. And so he never even pushed me to play bass, but I just happened to pick it up. And then he had his old Rickenbacker that he just had kept in the attic, and I finally got to use it. So I got very lucky with that.
Very nice, very nice. Yeah. And you're playing with 40 Feet Tall, and yep. It's a group that initiated in California, but has relocated up to the Great Northwest, my stomping grounds.
Yeah. They started off in LA as like a bunch of childhood best friends, and then everyone kind of moved up to Portland, and that's how I got the invite to come play bass up in Portland, and I took the offer.
Nice. Well, Portland is certainly a very musical place, and under normal circumstances, since we're in the pandemic, things have certainly dried up, as we all know. There's tons of interesting venues and things, and you guys, of course, with the pandemic and timing, released A Good Distraction in March of last year. And listening to the tracks, I could see myself listening to them in venues somewhere in the Portland area, whether it's the Doug Fir or the Starlight or one of the McMinimans stages or something. I'm going, oh, this would have been perfect at this spot, you know?
Yeah. Doug Fir was one of our favorite spots. Loved playing Doug Fir. Played a few different McMinimans. Yeah, Portland definitely helped like shape our sound and the music we were putting out. Luckily, or I don't know what it was, but we were lucky enough to get to play Crystal Ballroom during the pandemic, which is really weird to be in this big hall that we've always wanted to play, but it was completely empty. So we got to do that, and hopefully, fingers crossed, we get to play it full someday here soon. But Portland has just become our home, and it's just influenced us all in a lot of different ways. And I think you can see that and hear that in our music.
Well, and certainly the kind of music you guys fall not in one cubby, but in kind of multiple genres, if you will, because there's some elements that have kind of garage band on them, but I find the music to be well beyond what you'd expect from garage band. And then you've got kind of the indie rock and kind of a punkish kind of angle as well. So there's kind of this blend of a lot of things. And I think they do kind of reflect the scene in Portland, because all of these are kind of elements of what we see up here.
Yeah, I totally agree. Yeah, I'm glad you've picked up on all that, because we have so many different influences. And I think each member of the band has a thing that they're into at any given time. And so when we all write as this unit, we all write together, and we all bring in those different elements. And we all go see different live music and see like, oh, that's what that band's doing. That's really cool. Let's bring a little bit of that in here. Let's bring a little bit of this in there. We want some more, of those kind of punk vibes, but with more of a melodic overtone to it or something. So it's been a really fun writing process too. This is like one of the bands where we all are equal writers in it. We all do our own share, which has been a really interesting, unique take for me.
With all of those different influences, when I'm listening to your bass playing, it gives it a diversity that's not just all punk. There's certainly a lot of melodic nuances to it. There's a lot of interesting runs. There is a lot of kind of counterpoint where what you're doing is coloring what's going on with the main tune in a fashion that, you know, you've got kind of a chameleon thing going on there, tune to tune. There's subtle differences that I pick up on. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah, I always try and do something a little bit different and unique on every song. And some of the songs just sticking with the roots and keeping that tight driving force to a song. And then some it needs just that. And luckily enough, my bandmates are willing to like let me kind of experiment with some new, like you're saying, counter melodies or things that are there, but like, you know, they're underneath the song. As a bassist, I feel like usually is, but it catches your ear and it perks you up and you say, what's going on over there? And it's fun to try to bring, and like, I mean, some of my biggest influences are like James Jameson and some of the kind of Motown bassists. Mm-hmm. And this isn't really a Motown genre at all, but like, I want to throw in a little bit of, you know, jazz or Motown hints in there so that you're still getting all these different flavors. And yeah, it's been really fun writing process. And this whole album, I actually didn't use any effects really. It's just straight bass into the head and right into the recording. So it had to, you know, all of the interesting parts of the bass had to be the notes you're playing, not any of the effects going into it.
We'll come to your sound shortly, but another thing I'll mention is when I'm watching your videos, for me it's particularly fun because I recognize a lot of the locations. And we used to watch, there was a TV show, Grimm, that they had filmed in Portland, and it was kind of the same thing. When you'd look, you'd go, oh, look, there's the train station, or oh, look, there's, you know, this warehouse I'm used to seeing. And so, especially with Julian, I'm going, okay, that's on the Willamette. That's the side where Amzi is. I've been down the dock where you guys got onto the boat, which I'm also noticing that not only did you guys get on a boat and flee, but you came back to the same spot and got off again. So
yeah. Not many people notice that part, but throw it together. These are the only docks we can get to right now. We just got to go for it.
Yeah. We've kayaked off of that dock. So for me, you know, I'm going, okay, I know where that is because if I take a left, I go by the submarine and then I go down to where the houseboats are. And so we've kind of looped up. But, you know, it's great, all of these familiar looks, but you incorporate it into the music as well. When I was watching, there's one that's in this house, and I'm going, oh my gosh, that could be anywhere in some of these Northeast Portland neighborhoods that you go, okay, that's way too familiar. But anyway, away from the locations, which are great, I really enjoy seeing those. And what's with because it's a recurring theme, I call it the digital origami rabbit mask, because I'm seeing that pop up and up. What's that?
Well, we were trying to create this ominous character that would just kind of be around sometimes. And I think that comes in with the fact that it's the album's called A Good Distraction. And kind of the overall theme of the album is that, you know, sometimes you focus on these things that aren't important and you need that good distraction to get you focused on what's good and important. It's a distraction from the bad things and focusing on the good things. And so this is kind of this ominous figure that's kind of in the background that we want, that's kind of ever present, but you're being distracted by hopefully the music and the fun and the good of what's going on. And we're kind of trying to do with this kind of these few videos, kind of connect it all a little bit, have them like a little mini like hints to each music video in the background of the other ones.
Sure.
And it's been a really fun process to create that with a director. For the first 3 music videos, it was Hayden Sierra who directed them, and it was really fun to work with him and just come up with these creative ideas. And then the last music video for Don't Tell Your Mom that we made was with Billy Fortier and his crew that's called Made Up Productions. And so they were all into like having these little hints and Easter eggs in the background of the videos as well.
It's always a lot of fun. And again, there's so many locations that are so nice when the weather is nice, because again, Portland, you have to deal with the rain and all of that. So you kind of have to find your windows of opportunity. So whether you're on the tennis courts up at Washington Park or you're down on the Willamette, you know, Lots of cool stuff. So we should talk about your sound, because you mentioned you didn't use a lot of effects, but how did you get your sound? What are you playing on?
I'm using a Little Mark Ninja bass head. Honestly, just kind of randomly crossed paths with it one day. I was going in to get, like, I was going to like buy my like first head and cabinet, not like separate, not using a combo amp. And I was going to go get an Ampeg, and I had that all set. And then the guy was just like, try this one out. And I was like, oh, what? This is sweet. It just fills kind of that perfect low end, but has the attack at the top that I want to hear. And I just play through a Fender P-Bass right now. Sometimes I pull out the Rickenbacker, but it has some electronic issues that need fixing. So that's been a little frustrating, because I love that bass, and it's got a lot of history and memories for me. But the P-Bass holds it down. Can never go wrong. So yeah, it's just a P-Bass going directly into the Little Mark Ninja amp head, and yeah, it's done wonders for me.
And you're using a Mark-based cab too, a 210?
Yeah, exactly, a 210. And there's always opportunities. I love the Mark-based cab setup, because you can just keep connecting them all to each other and making it as big and as loud as you want. And it's honestly so like light and easy to travel with, to get, when you're on the road. It does the trick of just like, it fits right into where it needs to go. It's light, doesn't break your back like a lot of bass cabs.
Mm-hmm.
So that's been sweet, and I love my setup right now.
I know in this recording you didn't use much in the way of pedals, but when you're live, are you using pedals?
I am now. During the pandemic, I didn't have a lot to do, but go experiment and try and find new sounds, and try and, get into some new areas, which is kind of what we always want to do with this band. All of us are kind of always trying to up our sounds, up our game, and what we're trying to do. So, yeah, I have 2 distortion pedals. I might have to move here. It looks like there's a gardener setting up.
Yeah. Okay, so now we've got Brett at a slightly different location due to gardening constraints. So that said, we were talking about your pedal setup. You're using a couple of distortion pedals.
Yeah. So I have just the classic Big Muff bass pedal. I love that one. I don't know. I like to stick to some of the classics, and I like to get some weird stuff. Mm-hmm. So I have the Big Muff bass pedal, fuzz pedal, and then I just got this thing called, it's a JHS tremolo pedal, and I think bass through a tremolo is always just wonky and fun, and we're getting some little more psychedelic vibes in there. And so when those sections come in, it's just so nice to have this weird kind of new tone and new just sense to it. And then what else? I have another distortion pedal that I can't remember what it's called, because it's Cole's. It's the guitarist's distortion pedal that I stole off of his board. So now that I have a setup, I can always steal from those two guitarists. Gotcha. And tuner pedal, of course, makes things a lot easier. Oh, and then I just got this thing called an octasynth.
Okay.
And it just makes the bass sound like this crazy synth. And so I don't get to use it that often, because it's a little bit crazy. But every once in a while, you'll hear it at the beginning or the end, or just kind of like just this weird sound. I'm still figuring it out. It's pretty new, but that one's one kind of exciting favorite new one.
Very nice. And do you have a preference in strings?
I don't. I'm not. I mean, I've tried flat wounds before, and they're fun to do, but I don't think I just do kind of like your standard Ernie Ball. I'm not picky. I'm usually a pretty simple guy. So whatever usually I bring it to a guy for a checkup and a tune-up, and whatever one kind of the strings he's into at the moment, I say, let's go for it. So not picky with my strings.
Gotcha. Well, and as we were mentioning before, you guys released A Good Distraction in March of last year. Things are just starting. We're seeing light at the end of the tunnel as we're seeing more vaccinations. The venues are starting to show a little life where they can. It's a challenging thing, because even the funding they were supposed to get, we were just seeing today that a lot of them didn't get what they needed. So it's going to be kind of interesting to see how the smoke clears around this. But what are your plans for the future?
We're just trying to get as many shows as possible right now. We have our first indoor show planned. It's going to be on July 2nd in Portland, Oregon at Stage 722,
Okay.
which is kind of a newer venue as far as I've been aware. I think they opened up like a few months right before the pandemic. Like kind of the first the first event I remember going to was like November 2019, and then it all got shut down. But they have it's like a big warehouse down off Morrison.
Okay.
Down southeast, next to kind of Holocene, if you know Holocene.
Mm-hmm.
So that's our first show. We're playing with Les Gold and Novocaine, and pre-sale tickets are going fast right now, and we can't wait to show people what we've been, it's been a year and a half of not being able to play in front of people, so we've been writing as much as possible and trying to get all those new sounds and new tunes, and yeah, and so, I mean, we want to get out on the road as soon as possible. That one we're still kind of, it's playing a lot of that by ear and just seeing what we can do, but we'll probably start hitting Seattle. Our hope is to start hitting the kind of the West Coast up and down in fall ASAP.
Nice.
So we're looking at that now, and yeah, we hope to see people out there.
And if people want to know like where you are, the best place to look, would that be 40feettall.com?
40feettall.com is great. Our Instagram is where we keep a lot of stuff updated. So just at 40feettall on Instagram. You can check all of our social medias. Our Spotify is up to date with what shows we're doing right now. So go on there, shamelessly promoting the Spotify. Got to get some follows and some new listens. So
absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, you got to hustle, especially in these times, So there's no resting on your laurels. Well, Brett, we appreciate you taking time and to share some lovely scenery with us, a nice sunshiny summer day. Folks, You've seen him here, Brett Marquette from 40 Feet Tall on Bass Musician Magazine.
Thank you.